Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the MLS Soccer Show with Cal and Crean. I am your co-host Tim Crean. With me as always, the Cal of Cal and Crean, Mike Calandrillo. Mike, how you doing today?
Doing good. A little nervous. We got a big week ahead of us. No MLS games, but we got U.S. men's national team.
That's right. So let me say, this is what we're going to do, right? This is a big week for U.S. soccer in general. So like many of the stars of MLS, we're going to give it our best for the last weekend of games, recap those as we usually do, but then we're cutting out all the fun stuff and we're going right to U.S. men's national team like so many of the stars of the league here, because we are on the verge of the possibly the three most important games in recent U.S. men's soccer history. And of course, that unfortunately means no Andrew Kula, Mr. Producer, on the show today. So he is here in spirit. We wish him well, and he will be watching. But no time for the nonsense, Mike. We are all about soccer this week. So let's start with our big 3 games that we're going to dive in deeply to. And I hate to do this, but we have to start with the Philadelphia Union, which your pick, correct, to win the East this year?
Oh yeah, I'm
versus my pick.
Good.
Yeah, versus my pick, NYCFC, my favorite team, and the Philadelphia Union took that game 2-0. Listen, it is time to officially pull out the panic meter with NYCFC. I got it out. We're not pushing the panic meter yet, but the panic meter is here. We're reading it on a regular basis just to see. They now have 4 points from 4 matches, and if you take away that 4-1 win over a bad CF Montreal team, they've been outscored 3-0 by the LA Galaxy, the Vancouver Whitecaps, and the Philly Union. Tati Castellanos, last year's Golden Boot winner, has 0 goals this season. Maxi Morales has 0 goals this season. Keaton Parks has 0 goals this season. NYC is in trouble. And getting into the game, the first goal, it wasn't great defending on a set piece, but honestly, more it was just a really nice set piece from Philly. There was not a ton of defense you can do for that. And the problem with NYCFC is less about the play and more about just the fact they're giving away those free kicks in and around the box. They did it a couple times in the first half, and that's something you gotta give it away from. This match could have been very different. The absolute travesty, and a referee, cost your OrlandoCity a match a couple weeks ago, but the referee, in my opinion, and you can tell me what you think, correctly called a red card and a penalty when Jack Elliott just absolutely ran over Santi Rodriguez after just a beautiful Ederson-like pass from Sean Johnson from way back in his own side of the pitch here. And VAR not only said it wasn't a red card, they called a handball on Santi Rodriguez, which maybe it touched his arm, but it was in the natural state of things, it seemed like to me. And then, of course, NYC was stunned after that, and 2 minutes or less later, Daniel Gazdag, sorry, I say that 10 times fast, Gazdag scored, and 2-0, the rest is history. Like I said, the panic meter's out. The silver lining is I don't think anything's systematically wrong with what NYCFC is doing. They have some set-piece defending problems, fine. They can give away less free kicks. But they had 73% possession in this game. They generated 18 shots, but they only put 3 on net. So to me, that just means that the players I mentioned, the Tati and Maxi Morales, Keaton Parks, Santi Rodriguez, along with Talis Magno, they just need to be better, period. I mean, that's what NYCFC needs to get back in this. So if those guys play better, I think this turns around fast. But if these guys are still in that championship hangover, it could be a real problem.
You're right. It is. I was thinking the same thing, championship hangover. And I guess with the fact that, they're playing the CONCACAF Champions League and they're in the semifinals, that's also going to be a thing. And they're doing really well there. You don't want to prioritize one over the other. But obviously, when you can win some silverware, that's always nice.
But this, listen, the CONCACAF Champions League is not UEFA Champions League it is not. I know. Sorry, breaking news for all you MLS fans. It is that. So you can't. You actually do. I disagree in that you do have to prioritize MLS over that. Yeah. That's the problem.
You're right. And 4 games in, like we said, you wake up and you're 4 games and you've got 4 points. That puts you in a pretty big hole. Especially it's a long season, but I always say it. No matter what sport, people say, it's early in the season. Those wins and losses still count all the same, especially at the end of the season when you're trying to make the playoffs. But there were a lot of takeaways from this game, and I was thinking about you early in the morning, as weird as that sounds. Because
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate
because
that.
I was going back and you're welcome, of course. I was going back and forth with the people at Philly on Twitter. I mean, again, that's ML Soccer Show at Twitter. And they were great. They were interacting. They were with a lot of fans, but I'm me, so they wanted to interact with me. But it was cool. It was cool just to get that vibe, and that's a cool thing, you guys. Getting into MLS right now, you can interact with these people, these people these admins, these people that run these accounts. They have a lot of fun. There's a lot of personality to these accounts. So don't be afraid to at somebody. Really use those hashtags. Like for Philly, it's DOOP. I don't know what that means, but there's a snake at the end, so it's cool. But cool. 4 games in, Philly Union, my pick to win the East, sitting atop the Eastern table. They've now accomplished a feat that's never been done before, and that is sitting at the top of the table after 4 games. It's the first win in Yankee Stadium with the pitcher's mound. Now that the grass is growing over the dirt, we gotta rectify that situation as a Yankee fan. But Philly is looking a lot better because the Yankee Stadium, usually they're horrendous. They had 2 draws and 5 losses previous to this game. And it really did take a full team effort to do this. Union aren't counting on any individual performances like they usually do. If anybody followed the Union, you know that it's usually it's one guy, Alejandro Bedoya. I'll talk about him maybe in a minute. Jim Curtin's got them firing on really on all cylinders. They're a press unit. They counter as a unit. And they've really got some nice experience and young guys stepping up. And again, going back to the point, we always talk about possession. And you said, 73% New York? Mm-hmm. If anybody listens to this show continuously, it does appear that MLS is a counter-attacking league. It's a league where you do not need to have possession of the ball. And it's amazing because it's pretty much the exact opposite anywhere else across the globe when it comes to soccer, football. You have to have the ball. But counter-attacking teams do really well in the MLS, so you've got to give it to them. Philly is doing a nice job of that. One of their brightest spots was 20-year-old Nathan Harriel. He's a right back. It was his without him, honestly, I don't think they would have got the clean sheet. Phenomenal goal line clearance in the 62nd minute. He is a homegrown player. He really did a lot to unlock the game, and it was his first MLS Team of the Week appearance. He shut down your man Tati Castellanos. It's like he wasn't even on the pitch. So really, really, really nice to see a young man, 20-year-old homegrown, do big things. And then who you spoke about a minute ago, Gazdag, he's got 3 goals in 4 starts. Yeah. He was really the replacement for Jaime Montero, who scored just 4 times last year in 17 starts. So this is a kid that really, it looks like he's back on track. He's taken a step forward in year 2, big things. And then the man you slandered in the first episode of the MLS Soccer Show, Alejandro Bedoya, has been playing like a man on a mission. Some call him an ageless wonder. I don't know if I go that far, but he's going to be 35 next month. He's the captain, still one of the best playmakers in the MLS. Take that for what it's worth. But he had 3. Here's another favorite stat of mine, Tim. Key passes. 3 key passes. Covered a ton of ground for a guy with knobby knees. And honestly, he did a lot. He brought that 12-minute goal, which is obviously his second already on the season. And I really think I picked him. But I really feel that this Union team is really flying on all cylinders. They come back on April 2nd, and they play Charlotte, who I think we'll get into it later. Still playing a little bit above their head. But you gotta be happy if you're a if you're a Philly supporter, and a little bit disappointed if you're an NYCFC supporter such as yourself.
Yeah, so that's all very true, and like you said, it gets late early in these sports if you don't win. So let's move on to another team that got beat down, so I don't feel so bad. FC Dallas 4, Portland Timbers 1. Mike, what do you think about this offensive explosion from FC Dallas?
Shocking. I mean, we all talk about the Timbers and how they're just a consistent playoff team, and maybe they'll get there. But FC Dallas is flying high. They really do have a lot of depth on this team, and Jesus Ferreira, I give it up to him. I did not see this coming ever, but he had a hat trick in the span of 10 minutes, and he also assisted on a Paul Arriola goal. They just demolished the Timbers. They're riding some great momentum into the international.
Chop down the Timbers, maybe you would like to say.
Ooh, chop them. Yeah, absolutely. But the kid's 21. Awesome. He's the second youngest American to score an MLS hat trick behind former teammate Ricardo Pepi, who was 18 when he did it last year against the LA Galaxy. And Ferreira, for all his accomplishments, was voted voted the MLS Player of the Week, his 8th overall since 2019, which actually totally blew my mind because again, decent player. I know he's played on the U.S. men's national team. He's got a number of caps. But I didn't think, he really had this in him. But he did. He scored the fastest hat trick in club history and the 8th fastest in league history. So, again, kudos to him. The Timbers, whoa, what's going on? We're taking a couple steps backwards here, unable to close down, couldn't win the ball. It seems to be a trend. Multiple occasions, Dallas is their buildup. The ball continued to end up on their feet or the head of Ferreira at the top of the box. Nobody closed in. I don't really know what's going on, but what I do know is that what we said last week is that Alan Velasco is absolutely the engine that keeps this train moving. This kid is unbelievable. 26 minute. The team they were just playing free-flowing soccer. Velasco sprung between the right side of the Timbers defense, totally blew past Van Rankin, who was constantly caught in no man's land the entire night. Velasco, he cut inside the box, and there was Paul Arriola, and he dumped it right to Jesus Ferreira for the first goal of many more. So it was just a continuous thing. The Timbers tried to play a high line. They just could not get anything going, and Dallas made them pay. And I'm really shocked because this, again, we talk about Dallas as a team that doesn't go out and spend money, continues to grow from within, and they're kind of now doing a blend of both, and it's working. And, let's see how long they can ride this for, because they're fun to watch.
Yeah, they are fun to watch. And Ferreira was just incredible this game. It looked like he was pressing earlier in the season. He was taking selfish shots. He was really, really trying hard for that first goal. And this game, he played differently. He ran hard without the ball. He laid the ball off when it made sense. He acted like a true number 9. And he wasn't just concerned with himself finishing for his first goal. And that's when he got his first 2 goals. And then, once you have 2 goals as a striker like that, goal number 3 came out of just a pure heat check from downtown, and it was a great goal, but that's what you can do once you have some momentum. So I thought he really, when you're not scraping and really trying to force that first goal, you can do things like that. So that was great to see. And the other reason that Ferreira got off the schneid here is just now Dallas has 2 incredibly dangerous weapons in Paul Arriola and Velasco on either side. And, Velasco almost created another chance on a short corner right before the half. It was an incredible save by Ivacic there, the keeper for Portland, to keep that one out of the net. And those 2, they really stretch the defense horizontally, which creates space for Ferreira to operate, which he didn't have when before Velasco came in and really changed the look of this Dallas attack. And Mike, you'll appreciate this because as a Tottenham supporter, I think that's a really good analogy, because when you have Son and like Lucas Moura or whoever you have out on the other side really operating at a high level on the wings, it just gives Harry Kane so much more room to maneuver, and he can do all the Harry Kane things that he does when he has space to work. And that's when they're at their best, and you can see a little bit of that vibe from Dallas.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's that man is Dejan Kulusevski, formerly of Juventus. And ever since, you're right, since he came in, it's unlocked Kane, it's unlocked Sonny, and they've been high flying. And yeah, it's working for Dallas. But for the Timbers, I mean, and they're off. Everybody's off, but they come back, April 2nd. And then luckily they're playing my team, Orlando City. So it's a great time for Orlando City to play the Timbers, even though Timbers are going to be at home. So Orlando City's got to fly back to the West Coast where they just left, playing the Galaxy. But yeah, the Timbers need to right the ship, but I hopefully not on April 2nd. Let's move to the final game of the Big Three, the Columbus Crew, who Tim refuses to watch, doesn't want to watch, can't watch. I don't know, but he usually can't watch the New York Red Bulls. Were you able to watch this game? And if so, did you turn it off?
Yeah, no, I was not able to watch this game, but I watched it after the fact, and it was a very good game. And I think that we learned a lot, but some of it wasn't so good after some of the things that happened this game. So give me your kind of summary of this game, and I'll talk about my thoughts after that.
Yeah, I mean, Philly's at the top, which means the Crew are no longer. They're still one of the better, I don't know if I'm going to say the best teams through the first 4 weeks of the season, because they kind of came out of nowhere. But they are one of 6 teams to yet to lose, so that's good. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, it's a point, as Andrew would say. What's a point worth? Worth 1. So, these are good. It's a promising start after missing the playoffs last year. The big concern for them moving forward, and we'll see, it's Lucas Zelarayan. He left the game with a knee injury in the 89th minute, which is just like, are you kidding me? Like, you had to get hurt in the 89th minute. Mm-hmm. And we already saw him withdraw from 2 Armenia national team friendlies that were called in over the international break. So, again, he is their best player. arguably, I'll say. He's a guy that started on a tear this year, 4 goals and 2 assists. And right now he's supposed to miss 1 to 2 weeks. But again, anything can change. So what does that mean? That means that the guy that was on the trade block last week, Gyasi Zardes, thank goodness he's not going to the U.S. men's national team camp. He's got to step up. And again, Zardes, look, he hasn't played that much this year. He was really good for the Crew for 3 years. He was really good for the Galaxy before that. It's just age happens. But he's not producing at a high level. He has 1 goal, which was against San Jose, which I think you scored a goal. And that was the second match of the season. He's got 4 total shots, 1 on target. Look, they need Zardes now to step up and finish his chances, even when Zelarayan comes back. It's going to take him a little while with these these injuries, these knee injuries. It's going to take a little while to get back to 100%. So, the thing is, again, you played Toronto last week, one of the worst teams in the league. You got the Red Bulls. They're okay. Really, Zardes needs to be more apparent. He needs to make himself bigger. He needs to be, maybe it's just confidence as well. He hasn't played that much. So that's all going to be really important. He needs to pick up where he really left off, which, was now going on a year ago. So he gets all over the field. He's still got good speed, but he needs to put the ball in net. You're a striker. That's the most important thing. And the only thing I'll say about New York Red Bulls, because it was a 1-1 game, they created a lot. They nearly got a goal and a half more worth of expected goals, which is still my favorite stat, more than their opponent. They probably should have won after creating nearly a goal and a half less XG than their opponent. But again, it's kind of like possession. It doesn't necessarily mean a dang thing at the end of the day. So at the end, they get a draw. They allowed a late goal, which always sucks, I guess is the easiest way to say it. And, they look much improved from 2021. They really do. This is really 2 very, very similar teams that really nobody expected to do much of anything. And I think they could surprise and probably make the playoffs.
Yeah, the similar team I'll touch on in a second. But you can't overstate how bad that miss by Zardes was in the 65th minute. It was just a beautiful build-up with Darlington Nagbe and then, of course, former Man City prospect Yao Yaboa. It was a great build-up, and they got it to Zardes, and he just missed a sitter right on the goal line, basically, that would have changed the game. It's one of those goals that you had to work harder to miss it than to put it in the net. He went with his outside right foot instead of the left foot, his weaker foot, to put it in, and he missed it. Then 10 minutes later, he did the same thing. This time he went with the left, and he just skied it over the crossbar. So it was awful. And then Etienne Jr. got stuffed on a breakaway 3 minutes later. So if Zelarayan has to miss any kind of time, I really worry about how the Crew is going to score goals. That's on the negative side. On the positive side, listen, give manager Caleb Porter a lot of credit. Nagbe picked up a yellow card earlier, kind of at the end of the first half, I want to say. And so he was on the yellow card the entire second half. He didn't take him off the pitch. He trusted him, and he was the one who scored that final goal. So that was big for Porter for trusting his veterans. And, overall, they are 2 good teams. They're similar, but my concern with both is the same, is that both Red Bulls and Columbus Crew are too reliant on one player to score their goals and to finish their chances. It's Lewis Morgan for Red Bull, it's Zelarayan for Columbus Crew, and if they don't get some ancillary scoring from other guys on a regular basis, that they're not going to be as dangerous as they look kind of early in the season. And I do think if I had to choose one or the other, the Crew does have more weapons that could change that more quickly than Red Bull could.
Yeah, and the Crew are definitely a team that enjoys playing at home, I guess is the easiest way to say. Yeah. They only have 7 wins on the road since Caleb Porter took over in 2019. And their next game is against those Nashville Hot Chickens and their cracking defense. And I don't mean cracking in a good way. I mean in a really, really bad way. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, picking up those points with Zelarayan is going to be really important. So that's it for the opening segment. Let's move to Tomas Calientes, which is our hot takes that we'll probably regret only moments after we say them. So, Tim, I don't even know what to say anymore about Inter Miami, so I'm going to let you start because FC Stinkin' Addy is just proving me wrong. I mean, what else can we possibly say?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to say much about Inter Miami. We know where we all stand on them, except to say that Gonzalo Higuain, I mean, you talk about Jordan Morris looking bloated. Higuain, my goodness. He looked bloated like 5 years ago when he went to AC Milan for like 6 months. So, yeah. Yeah, Higuain is you can stick a fork in him. He's done. He scored their 1 goal on a penalty, but still. Yeah. But listen, my question here is Stinkinati, as you call them, frisky? They still did some bad stuff. They gave away a bad penalty. They missed a penalty of their own. But they have 6 points in their last 2 matches. It should be 7, if not for DC's miracle goal in extra Fergie time. I think it was like 7 minutes into stoppage time. And next on the schedule is expansion Charlotte. And then they get CF Montreal, who collapses in every second half ever after that. So is Stinkinati a team that could make some noise? And I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but are they a challenger for a final playoff spot?
My thing is, it's just so hard to trust Brian Vasquez. He's got 7 goals and 2 assists in his last 750 minutes for Cincinnati. But in 2022, he's actually tied his career high for goals, which is 4. Some people say it's not a fluke. I can't say it is or it isn't. I want to believe in him because there's already talk. Well, we never know, maybe another number 9 for the U.S. men's national team. Let's pump the brakes, okay? Yeah. It's 4 goals. It's only 4 games. I know he's leading the league in expected goals. There we go again, and he's guided Cincy to 2 straight wins. And look, if he can keep it up, that's wonderful. It's going to drive this stinking Cincinnati team, and hopefully he can drag him out of the cellar. But keeping it up is his thing. He's been around a while. There's been a number of teams that have given up on him. So I can't count on him yet. I'm sure Cincinnati fans are. I'm sure they're hoping for the best. He looks really good. He looks electric. But until he proves it for more than a handful of games, I'm not ready to hand the keys to the Queen City to the young man just yet. So hopefully for his sake and for the people of Cincinnati. But man, Phil Neville, you got to go, man. How do you still have a job? Come on.
Yeah, it was bad all around, but enough of them. And actually, the next game, I don't really want to talk about it, so just give me something on Toronto FC 2, DC United 1.
Terrible game. Awful. One thing I will say about DC United is they have signed Greek international Taxi. Yeah, Taxi.
Cool name.
Fontes. Pre-contract, effectively meaning he would begin playing for United as soon as this summer's transfer window opened. That was original. But now Black and Red have agreed with the Rapid Vienna to a reported $400,000 transfer fee to accelerate the 26-year-old's move to the MLS. So it's very possible that we could see him in Black and Red right after the international break. And obviously DC United can use all the help they can possibly get because they are a middling table at best.
Yeah, they really are, and that is a hefty taxi fee, as New Yorkers know all about. All right, now moving on, and listen, I'm not going to say much except to say Orlando City 1, LA Galaxy nothing, and I have said it all along. This Orlando City team will only go as far as the young Facundo Torres will take them, and he showed that this week. But I know you have a little bit more than a Tomas Calientes on this one. You want to talk about your team, puff your chest out about the LA Galaxy win. So go ahead, tell us about this win.
Facu scored, and he came out of nowhere with that header. It was great. Hopefully it kickstarts an excellent season for the club record signing. And let's not forget about Erkan Kara's fantastic wunderbar cross on the play, okay?
Right.
He's the number 9. He is the club's best passer and honestly the best crosser maybe Orlando City's ever had, okay? Which is really, really strange, but also not really that surprising. He played in the Austrian top flight. This guy is for real. He makes Ruan, our right back, look like a tiny man who doesn't belong on the pitch at times. Super fast, can't cross the ball, worth a nothing. He needs to figure it out. But the important part, the best part, besides getting Facu on the board, is Galese, man. Pedro Galese, right. El Pupo. He is so good. I guess it's a family-friendly show. Let's just I'll work my way around it. There was the crotch-shot heard round the world. And the thing is that I'm listening to it, and I know when it's a non-soccer commentator calling a soccer game. You just know because he says just words that just don't belong in the context. So he literally said, and I quote, I'm going to change the last word, it hit him in the pen 15. What? Sir, why would you say that? We can all see that the man is rolling around on the ground holding his nether regions. Why do you have to make it that apparent? Maybe he didn't know it was a hot mic. But anyway, Pedro Galese is officially the all-time Orlando City record holder with 13 clean sheets in all competitions in less than 44 games. Pulled level with Joe Bendick in regular season shutouts, and he's shown the importance of what a goalkeeper can do. We should just have called this show Goalkeeper FC because they're just, again, they get you 9 to 12 points a season. So good. Orlando, you're killing me because some weeks you look amazing and other weeks you look like you're just confused. You got to ride this to many more victories. Like we said, Portland is coming up next. You can't have a letdown, even though you got to fly back across. And this is their first Pacific time zone win since 2018. That's ridiculous. Totally, totally ridiculous. But I'll pump the brakes. About the Galaxy, because I know I talk about the Galaxy a lot. Cabral, my man, what are you doing? He is in the 90th percentile for expected goals among attacking mids and wingers, and in the 51st percentile for goals scored. That's 2,276 minutes worth of data. Quite simply, he hasn't been effective enough. He came to the Galaxy on a $6 million transfer as a young DP, and he has been horrible. I know people, it's young, it's his new league, it's a new country. Bro, no, I don't care. $6 million, you've got to be able to do something. You've got Chicharito you need to link up with. Figure it out, or it's time for him to sit. The other concern that I have is Douglas Costa left the game with an apparent hamstring injury. They're saying it's not too serious, but if you know Douglas Costa, if you watched him play in Europe, he has a history of hamstring injuries. It's like Christian Pulisic times 3 with these hamstrings, okay? So keep an eye on it. And again, going back to our point of possession, Galaxy, 63% possession. They had a huge shot count, 20-6 against Orlando City, but the problem is composure. They only had 3 shots that actually went on target, and you got Galese there. And honestly, the defender of the season so far, in my opinion, and if you don't know Antonio Carlos, the Brazilian Rock, get to know him because he will make his first MLS All-Star team this year. This guy is fantastic.
Yeah, it was a great win for Orlando. Now let's see if they can string together 2 in a row when they next take the field here. Now let's get to the game that's featured the most goals of the weekend here. Atlanta United 3, CF Montreal 3. What were your Tomas Caliente takeaways from this game?
Ugly. Yikes. What a... Oh, man. Okay. Brad Guzan, Sebastian Breza, you were both exposed ludicrously, okay? You both look like you should be put out the pasture, especially the Georgi Mihalovic juke Guzan into a full spin mode down into the turf of Mercedes-Benz. That looked like Michael Vick. That was totally ridiculous. Atlanta United needed a goal from distance and a free kick that should have been saved to earn a point. Even with CF Montreal, what does the CF mean? Creating 2.9 expected goals worth of chances to Atlanta's, get this, 0.7. Neither of these teams are going anywhere. Either, both are terrible. Honestly,
all right.
They're both worse than DC United.
All right, that's fine. That's okay. We can discuss that, but I gotta disagree a little bit, at least about Brad Guzan. The first 2 goals of the game, one for each team. The one was 1-on-1 against Breza, I think, and then the second one was 2-on-1 against Guzan. Nothing to do about that. The second Montreal goal was a bang play. The third was a penalty. So Guzan also made a great 1-on-1 save against Kyoto right before the half. So Guzan wasn't quite as bad, I think, as you made him out to be. Breza, I'll give you, he wasn't very good at all. But the other real quick, brilliant first half goal from 20-year-old Argentine Thiago Almeida. If you haven't seen it, check out the goal. It was fantastic. He's another young player to watch. Next week, when we have a little more time, I think we're going to rank some of the young players because there's a lot of amazing young players here in the MLS this season. And then just a brutal collapse by Montreal. The second half collapse strikes Montreal again. This is a theme, and they are not getting over this. So I don't know how to fix that in Montreal. But moving on, another relatively lopsided game. Chicago Fire 3, Sporting Kansas City 1. What do you got here?
Sporting KC, the perennial title contender, you are 12th in the Western Conference standing with 3 points from their first 4 matches. Not good. And the storm clouds that hovered early when it was announced that their DP forward, Alan Polito, would be lost for the season due to a knee injury got only a little bit worse with Il Sanchez leaving for LAFC. They've got one of the oldest starting lineups in the MLS thus far, and there is no way that they are going to get 35 goals from their wingers like they did last year. This is a team on the wrong side of history. Look, they're just not going anywhere fast, and I know, again, this is another team like Portland. This is a perennial team that traditionally comes out of the West and plays really well, but they were exposed again. Chicago is a really, really good team. They have got a lot going on. Shaqiri scored his first goal. They've got my favorite goalkeeper in the world, Gaga Salina. There's just a lot of great things, and they're not going to beat very many good teams, let alone maybe a mediocre team. So Sporting Kansas City, I know they got a great coach. It's been around forever, but they're gonna have to figure it out fast. Otherwise, they'll be getting ready for the 2023 season.
Yeah, and just, I think 2 weeks ago I crushed Jordan Shaqiri, but welcome to the MLS. You scored your first goal today, and happy trails to our Keeper FC podcast favorite, Gagas Lonina, led up his first goal of the season, so his clean sheet streak is over. Now, maybe the most shocking result of the week, the expansion, Charlotte FC scored 3 goals on the New England Revolution. And, Mike, I didn't watch this live, and so when I saw the scoreline, what I thought was this was a typical, bad team, gets a couple breaks, they get up 2-0, 3-0, and the game's kind of over. But no, this was a real win. They battled back, and I think you'll talk about them a little bit, but the victory was legit, and Ben Bender and Swiderski combination, they are legit as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about the bad first. New England, bad. So bad. The investment in and the importance of older DPs like Gustavo Bo, who's 32, Carlos Gil, who's 29, the reigning MVP. Mm-hmm. And look, they've got some injuries. Henry Kessler, Andrew Farrell, Matt Turner all didn't play. Matt Turner's not going to be playing much more, headed to Arsenal. It's just not working. There's no vibrance. The key areas are just not there. And look, they brought in Omar Gonzalez because a guy like, the manager, Bruce Arena, who I love, he's comfortable with these guys. He's had them for years at LA Galaxy and the U.S. men's national team, but it's just not working. And really what you can see is when guys like Kessler and Farrell don't play, is that really how important a guy like Matt Turner was, Keeper FC, because he really must have been fantastic. I mean, we know he had a great year. He was Keeper of the Year last year, and how he kind of papered over all those holes that this New England team obviously has, because they look dreadful. And we talked about Earl Edwards a couple weeks ago and how he was playing well. This is the Earl Edwards that was at Orlando City for many, many years and couldn't sniff a game because he just doesn't really seem to have what it takes to be a number one keeper in this league. And that's too bad. And I hope he can find it, but it's not looking good right now. Look, hot take is there's no way this club gets anywhere near the Supporters Shield, obviously, and a roster shakeup could be coming soon, because Bruce is not going to sit on his laurels. He's a guy that's used to winning, especially what they did last year. So they better figure it out. As far as the other guys, Karol Swiderski, my man, you are fantastic. I don't even know who you were up until when you couldn't get your visa. So congratulations, you got the DP. You're finally doing your thing. 3 appearances. You look phenomenal. You look good. You're Polish. You got that going. He's got great movement, ability to really unsettle center backs. It makes him a problem in the league, which is exactly what you need in a DP. He can't be, that guy from LA Galaxy we want to talk about. Look, Swiderski also had a couple against Atlanta last week. He came good this weekend with a brace. What more can you say about him except that Ben Bender, Ben. He is so good. Again, he played college ball, so it's not like he's a rookie, but it's not like he's inexperienced or coming from another country. He's in a totally different league, different ability level, but this kid looks good. So look, they're probably going to exceed my 2-game win season that I projected, but I'm okay with that. I'm really okay. I hope they do well. I still don't care they got 74,000 fans. That's a moral victory when you lost the game, but they look a lot better. And it just goes to show that, don't paint a picture without crayons. What?
Yeah, they look good. Ben Bender, he is amazing, and Swiderski, Robert Lewandowski, light, very light, super light. Okay, so moving on. Underrated United, aka Minnesota United, 1, San Jose Earthquakes, nothing. San Jose is terrible, and we don't need to talk about that. Houston Dynamo 1, my beloved Colorado Rapids 1. Who are back to my they didn't do it, but what'd you think of this game?
It was a game. I mean, it was
nice analysis,
yeah.
Fighting Cronkies.
They struck again. Rapids they were on track to win. They really were. And then scored on a set piece. They looked like they were going to pull it out, and I was like, hey, Tim's going to go back to his original pick. And then William Yarbo took perhaps the worst goal kick of the weekend, and Houston pounced on a choice opportunity in stoppage time to equalize. And right then and there, I knew you weren't going to go back to the Fighting Cronkies. Awful, just awful. These are 2 also pretty bad teams. But at least for the Dynamo, they did announce the signing of 21-year-old attacker Thiago from Brazil. there's like 9,000 guys named Thiago, so it's kind of hard to figure who's who. But he did make his senior debut with Club Nautico Calabria in December 2018. Scored a lone goal in a 1-0 victory. Young kid, he's a winger. He's just going to transfer from Flamengo in 2020 and began the year with Flamengo's under-20 squad. Yeah, it's nice to see Houston investing in younger players, spending some money. Usually, again, it's not a thing they do, but it's hard to root for teams like this when it's just 1-0. Oh, well, and a misplay gets us a goal. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Colorado I'm out on. My secondary pick, Nashville SC, who we'll talk about next, went down 2-1, Real Salt Lake to Nashville Hot Chickens 1. It breaks my heart, Mike. What'd you think?
I mean, RSL, they deserve all the praise possible. They got 9 points, beating Seattle, New England, and Nashville. Those are 3 teams that before, when we did our MLS preview, they were, and they all still may, but they also were supposed to make the playoffs. Look, if they can get 10 points against the likes of the following teams, which is their schedule throughout, the top half through May, they got SKC, which they should win. Colorado, they should win. Toronto, they should win. New York City should win. Portland, they should win. LA Galaxy, possibly. Nashville, maybe. Austin, yeah. That's like 6 possible wins. That right there is going to put them in the top half of the table and definitely on track to make the playoffs. So you got to give it up to them. They're just playing really well. They exceeding expectations. Bobby Wood looks really good. I'm still on the Bobby Wood bandwagon. Nashville Hot Chickens, you've got to figure out that you can't give up any goals because you can't score more than 1 goal. It's pretty simple. You also need to realize that teams like to score from set pieces. So that's a problem because you can't seem to stop a set piece goal. So until you learn how to do that, it's just going to keep being a horrific thing for a really good team that is just succumbing to inconsistencies in their defense that are only highlighted by their inability to put consistent goals on the board. So I feel bad for, Zimmerman and company because they're doing okay. But it's like a defensive football. You can only be on the field so long. And after a while, you're just going to give up points. And that's exactly what's happening. They're getting pressured all the time, every time. And they're just falling through the cracks. So another team that needs to figure it out. And this international break comes at a great time.
Yeah, no hotter team than Real Salt Lake. The international break is probably bad for them because they were down 2-0 to New England with 12 minutes on the clock, and then in less than 20 minutes of soccer, they scored 4 goals. They did 3 to come back on New England. They scored in the first 2 minutes of this game, so very impressive by Real Salt Lake. Hopefully, the international break doesn't dead their momentum too much. And then, of course, Walker Zimmerman, my hero, still my vote for MVP so far. And not only, he almost got to that first goal by Real Salt Lake, but Teal Bunbury got in front of him and couldn't mark his man. He also lost his man on the second goal. So I don't know why exactly Teal Bunbury is marking people when he plays up front generally, but that it is. And then, of course, Walker Zimmerman got the goal. So he's MVP Walker Zimmerman. He is a monster. But let's quickly go through the last 2 games here. AustinFC 1, Seattle Sounders 1. Where are you here?
Austin, they continue to really surprise me. They do play some wonderful soccer at times, even if it came against a really tired-looking Seattle side. They Austin created a ton of chances in the second half. And look, if it wasn't for a outstanding performance by Stefan Cleveland, they should have honestly won this game. Overall, it was again, these draws so early in the season are kind of like, why? Because nobody should be this tired, but I guess when you count CONCACAF, they've got to move CONCACAF, Tim. That's the only thing I could possibly say. That's my hot take. Move it, change it. It can't be now because it's kind of watering down the early season, expectations of these really, really good teams. What's going to happen when it gets hot? You're going to be really, really tired. So it could put a lot of these teams behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting thought about moving CONCACAF. In Europe, obviously, that doesn't start till a little bit later in the season when the teams already kind of get their domestic footing. So that's something interesting to think about. My Tomas Calientes here, Austin. They play games in pairs. They scored 5 goals in their first 2 games. But the last 2 games almost followed the same pattern. They went down 1-0, then completely dominated the second half. Last week they weren't able to get the equalizing goal. This week they were. So I'm just curious what kind of games are the next 2 games for Austin. But I'm actually encouraged by this. I think that they looked amazing to start. We knew that wasn't completely real because of the teams they played, but I think they're going to be a real team to deal with in the West, just like LAFC. I did correctly. I didn't add the extra A this time. LAFC 3, Vancouver Whitecaps 1. My actual nomination for MVP, Carlos Vela scored a goal here. That's my only hot take. But what did you like about this game?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm looking good. This was my pick to win the West, Tim. I'm just going to cash my chips in now. One of the biggest things that went underrated this offseason was the acquisition of Ryan Hollingshead from FC Dallas. The guy is a top 3 fullback in the league, hands down. Last year, he was right up there in goals added and a consistent attacking presence. I mean, what more can you possibly want from a left back that can score, that can run, that can play defense? He's like Teo Hernandez for AC Milan. I love the guy. He had a brace against the Whitecaps. Hollingshead, Sanchez, Kellen Acosta. Why were you playing fullback? I don't like that. You've got to change that. Chirondolo, Maxime Crepeau. They're doing well. They're making quick improvements, especially with Carlos Vela. He scored a goal, but he's still not looking like the Carlos Vela that we're accustomed to. So he must still be feeling something. But April is really going to be the tale of the tape for this club for what they have set to face. They play Orlando City. They've got the Galaxy and El Tráfico. They've got Sporting Kansas City, and then they got the Fighting Brian Vasquez's. So it'll be interesting to see. I still think that regardless of what happens with those 4 games, whether it's 2-2, 3-1, I don't see 4-0. But I think that they're going to be right up there in the West all season long, and Vancouver's bad.
Yeah, that sums it up nicely. So moving on, no time to rank stuff. No time for Andrew. Sorry, Mr. Producer. We do have a fun potent quotables today leading up to the Austin-Seattle match. Mike, tell me what you heard here. Yeah,
Coach Josh Wolff, former U.S. men's national team player, guy that's been around a long time, played USL, played MLS. He's played all over the place. But it was great that he talked about leading up to the Seattle match. Great quote. He said, "It was a good week. We had some dust-ups in training." So when I read this, I'm like, dust-ups? What? Can you elaborate? He did. You're in a good place when your guys are fighting and competing in training, and there's a little bit of fights going on. He continued after the 1-1 draw. He then continued on. That's a good sign of a good team. We lost 20 games last year. You did. There wasn't a dust-up, not a one. He then goes and finishes. I think those are the things that really show a different maturity in our group, a different mentality to winning and competing every day. So fighting in soccer is good, and you can pair a mature person with a grown man that fights with his fellow employees. I'm confused, Josh. I mean, yeah, I guess you got point. But
it sounds like Mike McCarthy or Rex Ryan from Knocked Up in training camp when American football players start to mix it up. So hey, listen, whatever's getting the job done, Austin FC is looking on the right track. All right, betting on football is fun most of the time. We're going to go through our results last week. Mike, you were 4 losses to 3 wins, but you're still above 500, 10-8. Do you have any of those losses that you regret more than others?
Yeah, I shouldn't have not taken Orlando City to draw. I mean, I was close, but that's what I get for going against my team. Never bet your own team. Just in any sport, just don't do it. I didn't see the Portland loss happening again. That was a total shocker. We spoke about that. I didn't see the Revolution losing to Charlotte. I mean, these seemed like easy picks. I didn't see Seattle losing to Austin. I mean, come on. I mean, on paper, these were real good bets, but that's why they call it gambling.
That's right. And so I went. I'm going to say I went 3-2, but then I threw it. You pressured me into throwing in one more at the end. The Dallas-Portland draw. I took the L on that one. So 500 on the week, 3-3 keeps me just under the peak of Mount 500 there at 8-9 for the year. But next week when the MLS is back, we will get back to betting on football because it's fun. And, well, when you win, at least. When you're 10-8 like Mike. When you're 8-9 like me, it's still fun. But, a couple weeks will get me back to having a real good time. But, Mike, let me talk to you about a real good time. And it's the upcoming 270 minutes that stand between the U.S. men's national team and either a 2022 World Cup bid or possibly the biggest meltdown that U.S. men's soccer has ever seen and could really hurt the sport here. So talk to me about your feelings ahead of this crucial USMNT qualifying weekend or week here.
I mean, are you nervous? I'm a little nervous. Yeah. I shouldn't be nervous, I guess. I mean, we're entering the final octagonal, tied with Mexico for second place. We're not catching Canada. It's not happening. We just need 5 points in the final 3 games to qualify for the World Cup. 5 points. 4 points will even get us a final qualifying playoff game. Not great, not what you want to do. You don't want to go into that final game like we did 4 years ago in Trinidad and Tobago, playing on a sand, a beach, a wet. Everything was wet. I don't even want to talk about it, but you don't want to go into that last game. You don't want to leave it. Here's my problem with everything right now. Everything that I hear, everything that I watch and read. Everyone on social media especially is saying that the U.S. should punt the game against Mexico. No. Why? Why would they say that? Well, saying that because it's a young team playing on a hostile Azteca Stadium. Okay, guys, here's my thing. Even in and they say, look, even in a draw, Mexico, it's in Mexico, it's in Azteca, it would still suit the men's national team just fine, considering they've never won in this fixture. Never won, never. No. There's 0 wins, 13 losses, and 3 draws in Mexico. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Here's the thing, though. For me, I wholeheartedly disagree with this premise of punting on the game, because I think if Berhalter does that and he puts out his second team or second and a half team, he's really just setting the team up to unfortunately miss the second consecutive World Cup. A young team is not going to fear going into Azteca. One, because it's not open to full capacity. Okay. It's not 90,000 people. It's not going to be crazy. They're not going to, it's just not going to be that type of intense atmosphere. And 2, Mexico is not the same national team as years past. We talked about this on past episodes. The average age is around 30. They're not as fast. They're not as electric. The Chicharitos, the Hector Herreras, they're just not the same type of guys that went to the last World Cup and that traditionally dominate. How many times have we beat them in the Gold Cup and the previous Cups? I mean, we've really had their number. So we're going to just punt because we're going to Mexico? Look, there's no guarantee that the U.S. easily handles Panama here in Orlando. So I don't want to play dropping points, because if you drop points on purpose against Mexico and then you drop points against Panama not expecting to, but drop points even with your best team on the field, now that's it. You're done. I mean, you're definitely headed for that final qualification game.
At best.
And then what? Like you just said, then we're gonna have guys on ESPN like Stu Holden and all these guys losing their minds and going crazy. And again, that's not good for the sport. It's not what we want to see. So my question is, and there's lots of questions. Jordan Pefok is on. He's got European Champions League experience with young boys in Switzerland. Is he going to start up top? Is it going to be Jesus Ferreira up top because he's coming off a hat trick? Personally, I don't want to see Jesus Ferreira yet in that spot again. He started some games in the past 3, didn't look great. I want to give Pefok a chance. He's 26. He's more of a veteran. He's got the experience. Is Gio Reyna going to start? It's been big. He finally played 90 minutes for Dortmund on the weekend. Why Dortmund played him 90 minutes in his first game back? A little concerned. But he hasn't played for the national team in a very long time, coming up on a year. Is Christian Pulisic going to play against Mexico? Because, again, he's always, one play away from hurting himself. So that's the thing. Are we going to save him for that second match against Panama? Are we just gonna go strong against Panama in general? We're just gonna sit everybody and play people that shouldn't necessarily be on the team. These are all questions we're not gonna know until we see that roster and we see that team sheet come out on Thursday, which is then gonna pretty much lead up right until Sunday when we play Panama, which I will be there at that game. So I will have lots of good stuff for you guys on the social media. But I want to see a good game. I want to see a show. I would love to go into Mexico and wipe the floor and know we've got 3 points already, and a draw and a loss still gets us into qualifying. But more than that, a win and we're in. And then you can take the third game off against Costa Rica and you can do whatever the heck you want. It wouldn't matter. Because again, it's 2 games on the road. It's 2 games. You got to go to Mexico, you got to go to Costa Rica. Luckily, we're home against Panama and Orlando. So that's how I'm playing for it. What do you feel like, before we get into the meat and potatoes of who we're missing and what we have to look forward to? I mean, am I crazy for thinking about the situation of what the starting 11 should be like? Or am I over-exaggerating it?
No, those are all good questions. And I have answers to all those questions, obviously. But, look, first, I completely agree. There is 1 game ahead of the U.S. men's national team. That is against Mexico. Now is not the time to get cute, save something for the next game. You just can't do that. Again, you're going to find yourself out of the World Cup again, and that would be a complete disaster. So you have it's a 1-game season now. It's against Mexico. Make changes based on what happens there after the fact, but go all out to win this game. To do that, here's what I'd do. I'd start Ferreira. I know you said you wouldn't because of his past. Listen, he's coming off a hat trick for FC Dallas. Folks, he's had 2 goals in his last 5 appearances with Young Boys. Obviously, a different league. He's over in Europe. But Ferreira's got 3 goals in his last 90 minutes. So I'm going to ride the hot hand and put him up top. I'd probably bring Gio Reyna off the bench just because he hasn't really played all that much in a while. And plus, obviously I just said I wanted to throw all they got at Mexico, but having a fresh Gio Reyna for the Panama game's not the worst idea. And that's not a white flag you're waving. That's just being smart with a guy who's been injured. And then, the interesting kind of decision I came to here is I'd start Pulisic. I know after the last match I said I wouldn't. I like him better as a sub with some of the guys that Berhalter's been playing. But I just think that he's been better for Chelsea of late. He's got this big game, hostile crowd experience that, yes, Estadio Azteca is not going to be full. So instead of 90,000 batteries and jars of urine being thrown at the U.S. team, maybe there'll be 45,000 somewhere in there. But it's still batteries and jars of urine and a very, very hostile Mexican crowd that the U.S. gets every time. And obviously, the stats you gave later, 0 wins, 13 losses, and 3 draws, shows that America has not handled that very much in the past. So I want to see Berhalter, again, don't get cute. That's the phrase here. It's a 1-game season now. Deal with the next 2 games as they come. But win in Mexico and you're in, pretty much.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And, it's not a great time for the U.S. health-wise. We just got word a couple days ago that Brendan Aronson had to withdraw from the team, sustained a knee injury in his previous game with RB Salzburg. So thanks a lot, Austria. Appreciate that. He was so good. He was so consistent, too. He played in 11 of the World Cup qualifying matches. I mean, and he's looked really, really dynamic. And that's just, I hate losing a guy like that who can play any number of positions. But it is what it is. So luckily, Gio Reyna is back. We'll see whether he's going to play or not. Team's also going to be missing Serginho Dest, who's traditionally the starting right back. It hasn't played as much as of late for Barca, but of course, when he does play, which was last week in the Europa League Cup against Galatasaray, he hurt his hamstring. So he's out. And that means George Bello is coming back into camp. Look, he played when he used to play for Atlanta United. He was a good player. He's gone to the Bundesliga playing with Arminia Bielefeld. They're not a very good team. They're fighting to stay into the Bundesliga. They're probably not gonna. But he's up. Matt Turner's out. Weston McKennie's out. Obviously, he's out all season with that broken foot. These are guys that have to get healthy and healthy quick because they're going to be integral to the U.S. getting out of the first, group stage, Combo World Cup. Yes, I think we're still going to get in. That's not my major concern, but yeah, it would have been nice to have him. Other than that, the other concern for game 2 and game 3 is the guys on yellow cards. Tyler Adams, Zach Steffen, DeAndre Yedlin, George Weah, all carrying yellow cards, meaning that one more will suspend them from the next match. Zach Steffen, you're a goalkeeper. You should never, ever, ever get a yellow card, first of all. That's my biggest complaint about him. Tyler Adams is huge, especially without McKennie in the middle of the pitch. He's got to be smart, but his game is also physical. So this could be very, very tough. I'm not going to be surprised if he picks up a yellow. DeAndre Yedlin, I don't even know if he's going to get off the bench. He may play. Obviously, we just talked about Bello coming in. I prefer to see Yedlin, although he is on Inter Miami and they don't stop anyone, so that's a question. And George Weah is, did I say George? Timothy Weah.
Oh my God,
I'm thinking about his father.
The president of Liberia is on a yellow card, which is a major issue for the U.S.
You know what though?
He
could probably still score some goals.
Listen,
number 9.
He can always score.
Yes, not George. I am sorry. Timothy Weah. I'm a Milan fan, guys. Timothy Weah has been incredible. He's been so dynamic on that left wing. No, you stay on the bench. Mr. Bloat in Seattle. You stay away from Timothy. He's got to be smart. He's got to stay healthy, which has always been a question mark for him, especially in his time in Lille. But he's been great. So he's got to do what he's been doing and putting balls on net. I'm a little freaked out. I don't know if it's because I said George Weah instead of Tim, or I just got myself nervous with all the yellow cards and the injuries.
Yeah, well, listen, that's a legit concern. I mean, injuries suck. McKennie is a major loss, and of course, that would be compounded in a big way if Tyler Adams, if we lose him for the second game or the third game, if necessary, and we're in the same situation with Dest being out and Yedlin on a card, with Turner being out and Steffen on a card. So it's a problem, but listen, I have faith that the U.S. men's national team is now deep enough and talented enough to overcome these challenges. So again, I don't want that playing into Berhalter's thinking to protect these guys. They need to play against Mexico. It's a 1-game season, and I cautiously optimistic that the U.S. men's team can pull this off. That said, I mean, this would be a disaster of epic proportions if the U.S. somehow chokes. And I mean, it's I don't think it's over exaggerating to say that if they miss out on a second consecutive World Cup, and they wouldn't miss out on 3 because luckily we're partially hosting the next one, so we automatically get in and the field's expanding and all that kind of stuff. But if we miss out on 8 years of World Cup, I mean that's something that will have an impact on MLS, on the popularity of soccer in this country, and that's not exaggerating. That is legit. Americans, they are we are a big game culture. People say they don't like soccer, they don't understand soccer, but yet they show up at their TVs, at their friends' TVs, at TVs in bars across the country when the World Cup is on, and especially when the U.S. men's national team is in the World Cup. And if they choke this up, it's gonna set soccer back in this country for a long time.
Yeah, no, patriotism runs strong. I always remember where I was for the last 4 or 5 World Cups every game. It's a great time. It's a great atmosphere. And yeah, that trauma of the failure to reach Russia in 2018, it did a lot of harm. And it was the first time that the U.S. men missed out on a World Cup since '86. I mean, I was 3. That was a long time ago. And yeah, it's put a big shadow over this program, players, the fan base. They just got to stay calm. They got to be disciplined, organized. They got to handle playing 2 out of 3 away from home, and that's on Berhalter. He's got to get them ready. Yeah, if they don't, he's the first one that's gone, and then there'll be a lot of other changes that are going to come. But we're not going to think that way. We're going to think of the best. Right. I'm going to be there supporting at Exploria Stadium in Orlando with some buddies. We're going to have a fantastic time. 7 rows from the field, Tim. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to send you 1,000 pictures, and I wish you were there with me, but you'll be there in, I don't want to say spirit because you're with us here in life. So either way, it's going to be great. And yes, this is a good team. It's a good program. They got to stay positive, because I don't want Christian Pulisic thinking, hey, my dad's from Croatia. I think I picked the wrong country. Can I go back? No, because when you're healthy, you're awesome. Okay.
And there's guys. I mean, listen. Jesus Ferreira has some other options. There's Des has some other options. I don't even want to think like that. So yes, the official position of this podcast is cautiously optimistic that we will be celebrating a World Cup berth, and then of course we'll all be glued to our TVs come November this year when the ridiculous World Cup played in Qatar. In at least it'll be 120. Maybe it'll be like 95 in the fall winter there.
Heat index. Fuck 30, give or take.
But America will be there. That's our official position of the MLS Soccer Show. To see more about that official position and all our thoughts on the MLS world and U.S. men's national team, Mike, tell the people where they can get us on the social media.
At ML Soccer Show on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. If you're going to watch us on YouTube, it's MLS Soccer Show. You can watch it on any of those platforms. You can also listen to it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Please leave a rate, review, listen, subscribe, do all that. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Tell us what you want to hear. We've got some great interviews coming up in just a couple of weeks. MLS season is going to be back in full swing on April the 2nd. But before that, enjoy the U.S. men's national team. Root along with us. We are going to be there. We are going to love every minute of it, and you should too. Until next time, I'm Mike Calandrillo. He is Tim Crean. Enjoy some soccer, kiss your loved ones, and USA.
Talk to you soon.